Everything's changed in the last 3 years, ever since the hearing with David Grush, according to Stephen Greer, is that there's some stalling going on because there's two factions of government. The government we elected, and then there's this shadow force that controls this stuff.
You wrote a piece. There's Dr. Nuno Lorio, MIT physicist who was fatally shot at his home. There's Dr. Carl Gilmar. He is a Caltech astrophysicist shot dead. And then there's this General Neil McCaslin, who's still missing. UAP witness Matthew Sullivan died in 2024 of an accidental overdose.
The missing general is very suspicious.
Do you think that the general is alive?
You know what I think it's really weird? That nobody's trying to find him.
A guy who has sensitive national security issues goes missing, and there's not one lead story that I've seen about this happening. Hello?
I really sat up and paid attention. I was fortunate enough to have a friend who's one of the world's leading UFO documentary filmmakers, and I called him up and I said, "What is going on?" And that's when he told me about this war behind the scenes between people who want controlled disclosure and those who want full disclosure. Now, the fear among those who want controlled disclosure is supposedly that full disclosure would lead to what they call catastrophic disclosure.
Let me just ask you this. Are there aliens that exist today? All right, guys, it is Friday before Memorial Day, and I've got a killer show coming your way. Jessica Reed Krause, you remember her. She's our good buddy. She followed the Epstein files. She's been really getting into the UFO stuff. The UAPs is what we're officially calling them. Over 1 billion people have viewed the files that the Department of War, Department of Defense, depends if you're old school or not, have now uploaded at war.gov/UFO. They're putting all these files up there of incidents that the Department of Defense, now the Department of War, has cataloged. Jessica was in town, did a bunch of briefings with folks about these missing folks that have gone reported. Where are they? All these people who've worked on different sites, government officials, high-ranking government officials. What should we know about this? You remember our good friend Tim Burchett? He came on the show and he said it scared him what they've seen. Plus, a brand new book on this subject lays out what the government may or may not be hiding. We've got all of that. But before I get into this, I got to tell you what a big bombshell yesterday that was nothing. It was like, you remember Geraldo cracking the safe? Unbelievable. The DNC autopsy comes out, and Ken Martin, the DNC chairman, leads it with a statement when it comes out. He writes, by the way, the same guy who's gotten a lot of crap for not putting it out. Like everyone knew in his own party. I mean, so finally he puts it out because Kamala Harris apparently claimed at a private fundraiser that she wanted it put out. Anyway, he finally puts it out for just randomly. Okay. And he writes on Twitter, "When I was elected DNC chair, I commissioned an after-action review of the 2024 election that I wanted to be honest and transparent and with actionable and specific takeaways for the future of the Democratic Party." Apparently, it's 200 pages, so you would think it does have a lot of stuff. "When I received the report," and this is what you have to hear, listen to this. "When I received the report late last year, it was wasn't ready for prime time, not even close. And because no source material was provided, it would have meant starting over. I could not, in good faith, put the DNC stamp of approval on that report that was produced." Okay, so he's saying that this was a total sham. This is a sham. "After last November's massive Democratic wins, I didn't want to create a distraction. But by not putting out the report, I ended up even creating an even bigger distraction. For that, I sincerely apologize." Is that what you're apologizing for? Or did you cover this up? "For full transparency, I'm releasing the report as we received it in its entirety, unedited and unabridged. It does not meet my standards and it won't meet your standards, but I'm doing this because people need to be able to trust the Democratic Party and trust our word." I mean, this is insane. The guy's putting out a report and saying it doesn't meet my standards and it won't meet yours, but hey, here's 200 pages of gobbledygook. Unbelievable. The big takeaways per CNN, which is basically a member of the DNC, it said it cast the Biden operation as having neglected Harris. It points to a broader failure to define Trump. It says Harris and her campaign took too much for granted. That's all you say about her? It cast Trump's transgender ad as very damaging to Harris. It suggests a shift away from identity politics and towards middle-class appeal. Hello? Didn't need a report for that. It cast Republicans at better at politics. Come on. It says Harris at least helped other Democrats more than Biden. Man, that says a lot, right? If she helped more than Biden, how big of an anchor would he have been on the ticket? And it says Democrats need to spend earlier. I mean, that's weak. Amber Duke, our good friend over at the Daily Caller, said it doesn't mention inflation, podcasts, women's sports, bathrooms, pronouns, Catholics, religion, white men, anything related to Maha, gas prices, and only one mention of the trans in the context of they, them. I mean, unbelievable. It's devoid of reality. The New York Times analysis said Democrats released a draft autopsy on Kamala Harris's defeat in the 2024 election that blames Joe Biden's political operation. I mean, look, and it kills on. This is, again, the New York Times, just to be clear, and arguing that it failed to position her for success. I'm sorry, you could have never positioned her for success. She's a deeply, deeply flawed candidate. This wasn't, I don't know how, like, guys, if this is really your takeaway, God bless you. God bless you. Because, and I hope you're not sneezing. I mean, Axios says the report calls for renewed focus on voters of middle and America. Guys, the candidate sucked. She was horrible. You can dance around it all you want. I know you don't want to say it because she's a black woman. And black women are key to the Democrat. I get it. Okay? Got it. You don't want to talk about her. But that's the reality. She was the problem. Also, big money announcement. The NRCC, the National Republican Congressional Committee, brought in $10.4 million in April and is now sitting at $81.3 million. That combined with all the other money that MAGA Inc. has, Trump's campaign, the RNC, they're approaching $900 million. This is huge. And then in other news, by the way, before we get into this, Raul Castro was indicted for shooting down U.S. planes. This is a big thing. Keep an eye on Cuba, folks. All right. As I said, I really want to get into this discussion with Jessica Reed Krause about what she's seeing in the UFO, UAP space, but more specifically, what the government is and is not telling us about missing officials, etc. On Monday, by the way, we are going to have a great replay of our conversation with Victor Davis Hanson on Memorial Day. Congressman Randy Fine's going to join us on Tuesday, pollster Jim McLaughlin on Wednesday, and an amazing panel on Thursday, as always. So without further ado, I want to bring in the host of the House and Habit podcast and newsletter, Jessica Reed Krause. Jessica, welcome back to the show. I'm so excited for this conversation. I know when you were in D.C., you had like a bunch of meetings and briefings. Like, what do we need to know that we don't know about the existence of UFOs, aliens, UAPs, whatever we're calling them?
First of all, are you going to introduce me as a ufologist?
Should I?
Yeah. This
Okay.
is my debut.
Here's the bigger question. Are there any Epstein files that have gone to I mean, I think we're going to have to find the nexus of those two issues.
The Epstein files don't exist in this dimension,
Uh-oh.
Sean. No, it's actually very interesting. I feel like I've been waiting my whole life for this moment. And I think the timing is ideal. I think we have a president who really likes a good show. And I think he's really building this up. Like, I expect that some life form might emerge on, 4th of July in a little red MAGA hat. But this is, I mean, can't you see it? Like, so this is who I've been following. This is Stephen Greer, Dr. Stephen Greer.
Yeah.
You know him, right? And
well, I mean, my next guest is Kent Heckenlevy, who wrote this book where he talks extensively about Greer.
Yeah, so I mean, I know a little bit about him. I follow this loosely. I'm not like I'm not a fanatic. But what's interesting is everything's changed in the last like 3 years, ever since the hearing with David Grush, because he was the first one who kind of like elevated the conversation, where he was a respected official, and the whistleblowers came forward after that. And so it's been this gradual buildup. And I was at the UAP hearing that Anna Paulina Luna led in September. And so that was really interesting, but I didn't know at the time what these like orb entities were. That's what they discussed. And so they released a couple interesting videos during that. Um, and then I kept hearing, I think I was one of the first to announce that disclosure was happening. I got a couple tips. And what's happening right now, according to David or Stephen Greer, is that there's some stalling going on because this is his theory. This is his theory is there's two factions of government. So he really drills down on this point that there's like the government we elected, and then there's this shadow force that controls this stuff. And so he's saying that, Trump is doing in good faith. He's trying to push this forward. He wants transparency and he wants these files out. But Greer claims that like he doesn't even really know what is in these files. And so there's also this war of like the narrative. Is it spiritual? Is it extraterrestrial? And that's kind of what I've been focused on.
Well, but Tim Burchett, the congressman from Tennessee, I had him on the show, and he says, I'm going to tell you what I saw in a classified setting would basically, make your hair stand on end. So the guy saw something, he knows something in a classified setting. And here's what I find odd. In Washington, D.C., keeping a secret is not easy. Okay. So how does, if this many people, it's not like one person or five people, you have to have a lot of people read in on this stuff. I just don't know how you can have this many people, never mind how many members of Congress have seen this briefing, and no one's talking.
Okay, so you're very practical, which is not as fun. That's Mike's theories too. He's just like, people can't keep secrets. But I think the way they describe this is like, I mean, this has been going, sightings and encounters and stories of all this, they've been going on forever, right? And there's clearly, it's been documented in these old CIA files. There's a long history of sightings. You know about Area 51 and Roswell and all of this. I do believe that things are picking up. I mean, I don't know if you've read some of the stuff I've written, but like outside my office here in Laguna, there's these nightly orb sightings. And a lot of what they're saying that they're seeing is these crafts or entities, whatever you want to call them, they're coming up out of the ocean a lot of times. So there is a strong theory that suggests there's, structures under the ocean, bases. I just think we're learning.
This is what I don't get. I have a very open mind on this, but I'm like, okay, at some point, someone sees, like, it's, I don't know, if something's coming out of the ocean, give me something. Give me a close up of this, or a sub goes down in the ocean. But I just don't know how we never actually see anything up close.
Well, and I think you have to understand the threat that these whistleblowers were under. The reason they didn't come forward is because they were harassed, threatened, and they would lose their jobs. And I don't know if you're following the whole dead scientist mystery that's going on too.
Sorry to interrupt the conversation. We're going to tell you, we spent a lot of time talking about how to take care of ourselves. But Dr. Dennis Black thought, why aren't we doing the same for our dogs? And he invented Rough Greens. Now, this is the cool thing about Rough Greens. It's a supplement for your dog. In the same way that we take care of ourselves by adding supplements to our food, Rough Greens is the same exact kind of concept. It supports long-term health of your dog by providing live, bioavailable nutrients and essential vitamins, minerals, probiotics, digestive enzymes, omega oils. You get the gist. All that you have to do, and this is the beauty of Rough Greens, is you take a little bit of it and sprinkle it on your dog's existing food. No need to change the food. Same thing we do for ourselves. We're adding supplements to our own diets. We now do it for our dogs. So go get Rough Greens. They've got a free jumpstart bag right now that if you go to Rough Greens, RUFF greens.com, and enter code SPICER for free, all you do is cover the shipping. You get a free jumpstart bag. My dog absolutely loved it. You get some toys. You get some Rough Greens to show what I'm talking about. Your dog, you'll see the difference in. They will become more lively. The skin, the coat will become shinier. You see Rough Greens the same way that we change. Once we start adding supplements, you'll get the same. So check out that free jumpstart bag. All you have to do is cover the shipping by going to Rough Greens, RUFF greens.com. Use promo code SPICE for that free jumpstart bag. I wanted to ask you about this. I saw you mentioned you did write it. You wrote a piece. There's Dr. Nuno Lorio, a MIT physicist who was fatally shot at his home. There's Dr. Carl Gilmar. He is a Caltech astrophysicist shot dead. And then there's this General Neil McCasland, who's still missing. UAP witness Matthew Sullivan died in 2024 of an accidental overdose. I mean, the president got asked about this. It seems like there's a lot of dots that connect themselves.
Well, I will say I was quoted quite a bit for that piece because I was one of the first to connect the first two murders because these two men were specialized in similar territory as far as like free energy and they had sensitive information, and I had already been pointed to the first death. The Brown professor was murdered like at his house, right? Like just and then, so somebody pointed me to that they said, if I were you, I would look into that. So I had already kind of gone through that, and I thought it was weird that media wasn't asking why this man was killed this way. And then, like, I think it was a few weeks later, 4 weeks later, it was the second similar killing. And so from there, it's gone. I mean, the missing general is very suspicious. And David Greer brought that up. He was saying that he believes, and it made the most sense to me, he believes that he had information. If it is true that there's some sort of internal war going about how this narrative is going to go and what's going to be released and what's going to be hidden, and there's all this tension, and we don't really know how deep it goes, then he believes that this man vanished himself. He thinks
What does that mean? Vanished himself?
Well, he made himself disappear because of, it's there. People do end up dead. And
There's a
been
difference
talking to
between getting
scientists.
killed. Do you think that the general is alive?
You know what? I think it's really weird that nobody's trying to find him.
Right. But
Like,
isn't that weird? There's an Air Force general who's like in charge of some pretty important stuff. And there's I mean, with all due respect, and please no one take this in the wrong way. Nancy Guthrie goes missing.
Yeah.
The entire country stops. Obviously, tragic what, the circumstances around her abduction. And yet a guy who has sensitive national security issues goes missing. And there's not one lead story that I've seen about this happening. Hello?
to me, that's the weirdest thing of everything right now, because it proves that, one, media decides who we focus on. Because like you said, we're all gripped with that disappearance, and I mean, every day it was all over. You couldn't escape that story. And then, yeah, we have this guy missing. No one even he's forgotten about. No one knows where he's at. And so I wonder if it's possible that he's in some sort of protection program. I mean, I think it's fair to be really suspicious of the timing and of everything, and like what's a coincidence and what is worth, questioning. It's very interesting because at this conference, it happened on the same day that the first batch of disclosure files was released from the White House. So there's this competitive nature there. But Stephen Greer was saying that, he really disagrees with like the vice president, JD Vance, calling them demons. And everyone I've talked to in Congress seems to be on the spiritual aspect. They do refer to them as angels or demons, but
wait. So just hold on. I just want to make sure we're on the same page in this.
Okay.
These members of Congress and these people think that they're spirits, like i.e. a ghost, not an actual alien being.
Right. And so that's, again, this is the other interesting part to me. This is what I'm really focused on, because Anna Paulina Luna straight up said, I think it was on Joe Rogan, that they're entities. She believed demons. Tucker Carlson was the first to put that into words. And then most recently, we saw JD Vance say it too. So
wait,
it's
but this is what I don't get. So we've got UAPs and then spirits and demons. So they're not driving this. I mean, I that's what I can't even get, like, who's driving it? Are they driverless, like a Waymo?
Well, that's Greer's point. He's like, demons don't need crafts, because the
Right.
sightings they're seeing, they have, they're able to operate like unlike anything that we've created, and so they can slice through, dimensions and things, and come out of the ocean, and they're unfazed when a Hellfire missile strikes one of them. So I think. Do you want to know my theory? I think
Yes.
there's many things happening all at once. I think that maybe our skies are filled with all kinds of mysteries, and we're just now starting to notice uh, what's in the skies. And
Okay.
so, because the men who come in contact with these crafts say that they are crafts and they are encased in almost like a plasma barrier, which would enable, interdimensional or transdimensional, whatever they call it, travel. So it's very confusing, but I think it's confusing on purpose also. There's a if theories are true, there's a underlying misinformation campaign to make this all very confusing as well. So I'm just here listening to everyone. I'm open to all theories.
I hate to interrupt that conversation that we're having right now, but I got to tell you, when you get ready for bed tonight, do what I do. Make a scoop of Beam's Dream Powder, put it into some water, hit that microwave for 30 seconds. It doesn't matter. You can try that brownie flavor or the cocoa cinnamon that I love so much, or even the peanut butter, the peppermint. All of the flavors are amazing because they all have 5 ingredients that are completely natural in them. Reishi, apigenin, L-theanine, magnesium, melatonin. That's it. And it tastes amazing. I would drink it all day long if it didn't put you to sleep, but it does. My head hits the pillow 30 minutes after I take it, and I'm out like a light. I wake up rip roaring, ready to go. Do yourself a huge favor. Invest in your sleep. You will have a great night's sleep just like I do every single night because I use Beam's Dream Powder. Go to shopbeam, BEAM.com/Spicer. Use code Spicer for 40% off. That is the best deal that Beam has ever given. Go to shopbeam.com/Spicer. Use code Spicer for 40% off. All right, now back to the show. But so let me tie this all together. So you remember, obviously, you were one of these folks that that was given this Epstein booklet, right? And I'm actually serious when I try to tie these together. And the government tried to be forward leaning, or at least the attorney general at the time, and pretend that we were giving out all this information. And now you've got, I mentioned this at the top of the show, this site, war.gov/UFO, 1 billion views of 158 files that have been released. Okay. Is the government just trying to snow us and be like, hey, here's like this is the UFO version of the Epstein files. Like, here's a bunch of stuff to look at, but it's just to try to buy us off as opposed to actually really get to the bottom of what's going on?
Well, that's a good question to ask because I think the timing is suspicious too. Like, are we disclosing these just out of fun? Like, it just seems like why now? If this has been a secret we've been hiding and shielding the American people from, why now does it, why now? Is it because we're being forced? Is it because they're making appearances and people now have devices that can film them and they just can't hide it anymore? Or is it a strategy to distract? I mean, none of those are, to me, it all makes, I mean, they're fair suspicions and skepticism. I don't really know what's going on. I'm kind of mystified because I do see these orb-like things out in front of my office and they are over the ocean and it seems to be near nuclear sites.
Okay, when you talk to these people, one of the stuff that I'm going to ask Kent this question in a minute. Why is it that like I only hear about stuff in the U.S.? I mean, do these
That's not
spirits and
true.
aliens really?
Yeah. No, that's not true. I used to think that too, but no, they have a whole this is, I mean, Greer calls it an arms race, a modern arms race, and China has their own disclosure going. I think it was Venezuela. I've been paying attention to them outside of the U.S. and it's happening everywhere. And so are these sightings. I don't have a picture of it, but maybe you can Google after the show. They call it a bugosphere. It's this like metal looking floating orb thing, and they've found 2 of them and they believe they're like ancient crafts from aliens. They've dated them. They're 1,250,000 years old or something insane, but they operate like nothing else. And when one of these people captured, or one of them crashed into a electricity line. And so this man scooped it up, he took it home, and it grew in density and it like tripled in size. And this is all documented. This is part of if you go on Stephen Greer's website, you'll see the bugosphere. There's 2 of them now. On the day of that disclosure hearing he hosted, there was a second one discovered. So like I said, I'm having fun with it. I love trying to figure out what the heck is going on.
Okay, I'm excited to dig deeper on this. Do you think that like the people that you're talking to, at least in government, that they're going to get more? I mean, like I when I talked to Tim Burchett, I was taken back by his, like, he literally was moved by what he saw. Do you get the sense that like Anna Paulina Luna and these other folks really are going to get somewhere? Or are they getting stonewalled?
No, that's what I think. That's why I do believe there is genuine investment here because yes, when Anna Paulina was here, she was here at my office a couple months ago, and we talked about it then. And she was hinting at, the Book of Enoch and what she believes these are, and she's very much convinced, that it's time. She wants full transparency, and I was told that it would be released in the same manner as the Epstein files, where they'll just like throw it at the public without any, which I don't know how great it's been, but they will just throw it out and let everybody kind of dissect and interpret what the material is. But
Okay, well, we'll see.
you know how that goes.
I do. Jessica, thanks for being with us. I hope you and your family have a safe and blessed Memorial Day.
All right. Thanks, Sean.
You bet.
Bye.
All right, that was a really cool insight into what's going on. This whole thing has got me going. Now, though, I want to bring in a gentleman who's a best-selling author that really dug into this issue of what the government is and is not telling us. He's written a brand new best-selling book called Catastrophic Disclosure: The Deep State, Aliens, and the Truth. He has looked at Congress up and down. I'm excited to welcome in Ken Heckenlively. Take a listen to this conversation. Ken, thanks for joining us, and congrats on the book. I was intrigued how many previous books you've sold that have been bestsellers, and yet here we are talking UFOs.
Yeah. So at the top of the show, what I just want to say is I am not a UFO guy. In my previous 19 books, I've gone after corruption in medicine with chronic fatigue syndrome, autism, COVID. I've gone after Google and Facebook. I've gone after DEI. So
and now it's aliens' turn.
I've never done anything fringe or supernatural before, but what happened is, like lots of the country, when David Grush appeared in front of Congress, I really sat up and paid attention because I've written about Congress and I know the kind of vetting that goes on before you have a whistleblower. And so when that happened, I was fortunate enough to have a friend, Michael Mazzola, my co-author in this, who's one of the world's leading UFO documentary filmmakers. And I called him up and I said, what is going on? And that's when he told me about this war behind the scenes between people who want controlled disclosure and those who want full disclosure. Now, the fear among those who want controlled disclosure is supposedly that full disclosure would lead to what they call catastrophic disclosure. And the question of what catastrophic disclosure means took me on a 2-year journey to talk to all the leading people, or a number of the leading people in the UFO sphere. So I did it. The book opens up with me interviewing Dr. Stephen Greer. I spent a lot of time with Danny Sheehan, the constitutional lawyer. Congressman Burleson has a chapter in it. I do. And then Michael Schellenberger. And, I'm just investigating this thing. And I think I'm an attorney. I passed the bar 35 years ago. So I think that what I'm really good at is sniffing out lies and false narratives. And I've seen a lot of lies and false narratives in this UFO story, and I call them out. But what I'm trying to put together is the real narrative. And I only think like I've got 80 to 85% of what's true. And so I've got this real skepticism. So I've never seen anything, but I have people that I trust who tell me that they have seen things. And I want to be fair. And one of the things that is interesting about this book, and you mentioned is I feel like I've been incredibly fair to the UFO researchers. And when it came time to put this book out and to get the endorsements and everything, I was really surprised that the UFO researchers, by and large, who I felt like I was very fair to, refused to help me with any of the marketing of the book because they said I took too skeptical a tone. And I thought, well, come on, guys, welcome the new guy to the block. Maybe he's got a couple things that are worth listening to. If I'm wrong, I'm happy to say it. But, if you tell me they're all nice aliens, but they ain't showing up, I get a little suspicious.
I will say, you talk about it early in the book about your lawyerly approach, and you literally, one of the guys that's testifying, you're like, the way that they come off, because I forgot the word. I'm now thinking back.
It's kind of like a little too Yankee Doodle dandy for me.
You were like, hey, he was way too straight. Like, it was hysterical
bouncy.
The way you.
I described him as bouncy, and I work with whistleblowers. That's my beat, and I hate to say it because sometimes I hear these commentators talk about whistleblowers. Oh my God, you become a whistleblower, you get on easy street. No, the lives of whistleblowers, they get destroyed.
But let's get to the meat of this, though, because Congress created the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, in 2002 to investigate all of this. Is this doing anything? Is this real? Is it effective? Or is this just a show?
It's a great question. And I think it depends who's involved. So I was really interested because I've struck up a really nice relationship with Congressman Burleson. And so, I continue to contact him as one of my sources. And, he tells me about the first director of AARO, Sean Kirkpatrick, I think was his name. And, they go and they meet with them and they say, okay, you've been investigating. How many cases can you not solve? And Kirkpatrick supposedly goes, oh, just one, the David Fravor one off the coast of San Diego. Oh, okay. So then the next guy comes in and they say, okay, well, you're the new guy. So how many unexplained cases do you have? Well, over 100. And, Burleson had said to me, like, which is it? There's one unexplained case or over 100? So,
well, it's funny because the Pentagon has released these presidential unsealing and reporting system and has all these things. I'll ask you, is this just to satiate us, or are these real incidents that truly are anomalies?
Well, in the most recent release, now with my background as an attorney, I'm always looking for the best evidence. Where's the earliest evidence where somebody has no reason to lie? And so in those recent documents, which were released, the credibility is established. There's something called the Twining Memo, which is from 1947, end of the year. It's the head of Air Force Intelligence sending a letter to the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, and they're going, we're seeing these things in the sky. And he, details all the different things. I've actually got it here, things like it's real, not visionary or fictitious. These objects are approximately the size, the shape of a disc of such appreciable size as to appear as large as a man-made aircraft. There's a possibility some might be natural phenomena such as meteors. And finally, the reported operating characteristics such as extreme rates of climb, maneuverability, particularly in roll and action, which must be considered evasive when sighted or contacted by friendly aircraft or radar, lend belief to the possibility that some of the objects are controlled either manually, automatically, or remotely. That's from 1947, for God's sakes, okay? We can be assured of that credibility. And I'm thinking, these guys in 1947, most of them were born before we even learned to fly, and they're seeing this stuff. And so one of the things that drives me nuts, and it's kind of like why I really lean into some of what the UFO researchers like Dr. Stephen Greer and Danny Sheehan will say, is I can't believe that was written in nearly 80 years ago. And the intelligence community hasn't done a whole bunch of stuff in the ensuing 80 years. So why does that?
Or have they?
Well, it's sort of like, okay, let me give all due credit to the intelligence community. There are intelligent people in the intelligence community. And if they're saying that in 1947, I think a couple of them have been working on this stuff. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in 80 years, nobody, worried about that. But it sounds like they were really worried in 1947.
All right, so I want to ask you a question that, like, how do we keep this a secret, right? In other words, I get the intelligence agency might want to keep this, some of these guys, but between the entire world, right, the UFOs aren't stopping at our border. So Canada, China, Russia, South America. I mean, like,
Okay, perfect question. And I heard you ask that question to the previous guest, and I was like, God, I want that question.
There you go.
Okay. So Dr. Greer has his disclosure archive, okay, of whistleblowers. And he's got over 700 testimonies. So in one of the things that I do in the books that I write, I've kind of come to the conclusion that when people say that, the truth is that the truth is kind of leaky. I mean, we all kind of know about Epstein, right? There's a limited number of things that he was. He's either an arms dealer, a money launderer, or a pimp. Those are kind of the choices. And so, the fact that we're having this conversation shows that the truth kind of has gotten out there. Now, like the Epstein files, there's a lot of garbage in the Epstein files. Like, is Bill Clinton eating kids on a yacht? No, I don't think he is. But there's a lot there that is accurate and should be put forward. We just need the correct filter.
Well, you have argued that this isn't really a UFO story. It's a story about money, power, accountability. What do you mean by that?
Well, one of the things that the UFO people talk about, and what I do as an attorney, what you do is like you say, okay, I'm going to listen to everything, and then I'm going to see what keeps coming up. And what keeps coming up consistently is these craft demonstrate enormous acceleration power and speed. Now, Dr. Greer talks about this putting the oil companies out of business. Now, let's just take that David Fravor story of the Tic Tac from 2003 off the coast of San Diego. It's been talked about in Congress, so congressional testimony. What he saw was a Tic Tac shaped craft which went from 80,000 feet in the air to a couple feet above the surface in the ocean within a second or two. The amount of power necessary to do that is more than the entire energy output of the United States for a year. So I find it very plausible that if we've reversed engineered some of this stuff, that the revelation of that would be somewhat catastrophic to the oil companies. So I find that plausible. I'm trying to find somebody to disagree with me on it, but those are the questions I have in the face of incomplete information.
Unbelievable. Let me just ask you this. I got 10 seconds left.
Yeah.
In your opinion, are there aliens that exist today?
There are either aliens or it's the biggest baloney story being told by our intelligence agencies.
So that's a yes. You believe that there are alien beings.
I'm 85% yes, but 15, if this is all a show by the intelligence agencies for some reason, I wouldn't be shocked.
All right. Well, the book is an amazing read because I love your approach as a lawyer. It's all fact-based, evidence-based. Catastrophic Disclosure is the book. Ken, thanks for being with us. Have a great Memorial Day.
Thanks so much, Sean.
You bet. All right, guys, thanks for that. Before we get into the weekend, though, my good friend Scott Coburn is here from Patriot Mobile. I sat down with him earlier in the week to talk about some of the amazing stuff they're doing and in a brand new offer just for our listeners. Take a listen. Scott, good to see you again. And by the way, congratulations. I understand the Consumer Reports just named Patriot Mobile as one of the best phone plan providers in 2026, which has got to make you a pretty happy man.
Yeah, well, it's about time, right? We've been doing this a long time. I mean, they finally got around to giving us that recognition. But yeah, we've been working hard, Sean. You know that. We don't only provide great cell phone service, but we provide something quite unique. It's being able to support a company that believes in the things that you believe in. With every bill you pay, you're going to be supporting faith, family, and freedom. I mean, how good is that?
It is kind of cool, but I get asked this a lot because I was telling people it was really cool when I was getting my hotspot set up the other day and I called the customer service number to everything. It was cool, like to have somebody, frankly, and I'll say it in case you won't, but like someone who spoke English, somebody who I didn't have to worry that it was some, foreign telemarketing service. It was literally like I was talking to this guy and he was walking me through it and it was fantastic. But I do get asked a ton of time by saying, oh, I hear you talk about Patriot Mobile. Like explain the process to me because there's they're the big three, but how is Patriot Mobile different? And I try to give my best explanation, but you're the man who can probably do it better than anybody.
Yeah, Sean, that's a great point. And here's the reality of it, right? I mean, if you put a SIM card in your phone, it's going to connect to a cell phone network. And we offer all three of the major cell phone networks. So if you have coverage today on any of the big three networks in this country, you could switch to Patriot Mobile and get the same or better coverage that you have today. So there really is no reason you shouldn't join. And you pointed out something very important. When you called, you talked to somebody in English. You didn't need a Google translator to handle the conversation, right? I say it all the time. The only accent you might hear when you call Patriot Mobile is a little East Texas hillbilly. But that's just who we are, right? We're going to help you out. And not only is it the best service you can get, we can offer something truly unique. I can put two separate numbers on two different networks on a single smartphone. That means with a guy like you, Sean.
I didn't get that. So two separate numbers on two distinct carriers. Explain that.
So that's called our Patriot Mobile One product, and it truly is a game changer, right? So Sean, you travel around. Sometimes you get good service, sometimes you don't. Well, if you're on Patriot Mobile and you have two lines, one on one network and one on another, when you travel around, you're never going to lose coverage. So that's peace of mind that you really can't get with a single network carrier. And it happens all the time. Networks go down. Yeah. I mean, there's a big AT&T outage.
In the DC area, for example, I know in the metro, Verizon works the best, right? So under the Patriot One program, if you're traveling on the metro a lot, then you'd be on the Verizon network. And then if you're, walking around town, maybe you're on AT&T or T-Mobile, right?
That's right. Or if you say you have a student, a son or a daughter that's off to college and they're in another state where the service is better there on another network, you could spin them up on another network on the same bill on your Patriot Mobile bill. So there's a lot of application for Patriot Mobile One that just makes it a great product.
I know you guys are expanding to all three networks, and so you're running. And so is this something, if someone's interested in that, how do they do that if they want what you just explained? Or is that just part of when they sign up, they get that option?
It's real easy. I mean, when you call in and you talk to one of our 100% US-based sales force, they're going to talk you through the options. They're going to, first of all, get you set up on the best network for your primary service area. Once you're set up on that, they're going to explain to you the advantages of having a backup line or a second line on a different network. And then it's the beauty of that, Sean, the second line is $15 a month. I mean, how good is that? Like $15 a month for peace of mind that your wife or your teenage kid that's out driving around is never going to be without use of their cell phone. That's pretty strong.
That is pretty cool. And as you've noted, again, one of the things that I love, you said this at the beginning, I love the fact that it's an activist company, right? Proudly. They don't hide it. You guys aren't making secret donations. You're like, and you, by the way, I think this is cool too. You don't just make the donation. Every time I talk to one of the people from Patriot Mobile, they're at a pro-life event, at the NRA convention. They're reading at the Museum of the Bible readings. I mean, that's what I think is so cool. Like, you proudly activist for these causes. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, we like to say we live our values, Sean, and that's kind of what we do to a man here at Patriot Mobile. We have 220 plus employees that every single one of us is passionate about our mission, to protect our God-given rights and freedoms. And we don't just do it by stroking a check. Like you said, we're boots on the ground. We're on the front lines with our partners, our cause partners, making sure that they understand how important what they're doing is, and our support is there for them 100%.
I know we're going into Memorial Day weekend. You guys have a great deal for folks. I've always been excited because when you go to patriotmobile.com/Spicer, I'm on behalf of Glenn Story, I always offer people a free month, and I'm sure you guys will. But what do you have cooking for us for Memorial Day weekend?
Well, we got a good one, Sean. We want to honor all that have served and made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. And by doing that, we're going to open up an offer that we've never done before. We're actually giving away a free smartphone and a free month of service to new customers. Yes, you get a free smartphone and a free month of service. We're going to start the promo tomorrow. It's going to run through Tuesday. This is our Memorial Day special.
So we got to do this weekend.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So that's, wow. I didn't even know when you said I had something to tell you about Memorial Day. This is big. So we get the free phone, a free month of service. All you have to go is patriotmobile.com/Spicer. Give them a call at 972-PATRIOT, right?
That's it.
Just say Spicer, you get it all. You're not giving this to anybody else, just the folks that are going to patriotmobile.com/Spicer or 972-PATRIOT and using my name, right?
Well, we're going to make it special for the Spicer crowd. I'll tell you that.
All right. Well, look, Scott, I appreciate you sharing this. I love what you guys are doing. Congratulations on the Consumer Report stuff. And again, folks, like, this doesn't last. So you've got till Tuesday to go to patriotmobile.com/Spicer, get your free phone and your free month service. Do not regret this. Take advantage of this deal. I've never heard Patriot Mobile do something like this. So, Scott, thank you, Glenn, and everyone at Patriot Mobile for what you guys are doing. And have a very blessed and safe Memorial Day.
You too. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate you, brother.
You bet. All right, thanks for being with us. I hope you have a great weekend. I got a brand new column out at SeanSpicer.com. As always, continue to buy your copy of Trump 2.0 at Amazon or wherever you get your books. Keep putting that sales up to help it stay a bestseller. I hope you have a great weekend. And as I said, we'll see you back here on Monday with Victor Davis Hanson. Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.